Can you talk a little bit about scale? I mean, some of these pieces are at such a monumental level. Like you think of like a Richard Serra.
Yes.
Although that would be in steel, which would be really overwhelming.
Right.
But here you've created something at a really gigantic scale. And what is the purpose and your hope for that effect on a viewer?
Well, first of all, Richard Serra, as an art student and then as a professional artist, I've always admired the work beyond belief. For its scale, for the beautiful patina of on the metal of that Corten steel, and also, truthfully, without getting too new agey therapy, of his bravery of making that work. It's really took intense commitment over the years to make that work. So there is a reference that we were joking all week that he kept calling me and said, "Hey, what are you doing over there at Grounds for Sculpture?" He wasn't calling. So for scale, I am interested in creating this moment that I felt when I walked into the cathedral at Chartres in France in 1986, and I had studied in my art history all the great cathedrals of Europe. And I walked in, and I went like this, and then I went like this, and then I went like this. And I've read all the books of the construction, the fiction, that Ken Follett book, and all these books. And my wife looked at me and said, "You're weeping." And I said, "Well, look at this. This was built by hand over 200 years, so generations of the same families worked on these things." So what I'm hoping is you walk into one of these large-scale compositions, and you just go up and you go, besides this color and the scrim and everything, it's just wondrous that this even exists at its scale. But the other thing I'm very interested in is the opposite of Richard Serra. His things are massive, and they look massive, feel massive. There's an artist working in glass for decades named Howard Ventre, and he was the American. There were some Europeans, but he was the American who began to scale up glass, and scale up glass casting in particular. And it was work I looked to when I was a student, but I said to myself, there's something about the scale of his work that's intriguing, but the oomph is not me. I'm a much more delicate hand. And so I set about doing this work over the last 30 years. And this is at 60 years old. This scale is not just gratuitous because I can do it. It's meant to be this delicate mark that's a big delicate mark. That will tip your head up. That will allow the sun, like the sun when it comes up over here in the morning, comes through the skylights and hits the top, kind of the top part of the curve at about 11:30. It gets up right now, about 11:30. And it shines almost down, almost not quite at noon. And by leaving all of these edges clear cut, you can even see, if you just kind of go like this, every once in a while with, oh, there you go, right here.
Can you walk here?
Yeah, oh, you're meant to be in here. All of these lines from over there are glowing because they're clean cut. Clean cut means I used a regular glass cutter that you'd use at the hardware store. You score it, you crack it. Come on, don't be afraid to be in here. Come on. So we left everything clean cut. All of these little break marks are on purpose. The only break marks we didn't allow is if it left an open corner, but even that, as we composed it, when I say we, there were 6 people on site every day for 3 weeks. So as we composed it, there might be some places, like even right here, it's open a little, that's fine.
So you put it together here.
It was all assembled on site. Everything came in crates, 25 panels to a little crate. Why 25 panels? We tested the weakest person in the studio to see a very small woman who had the least upper body strength, and we said, okay, carry this from here to here. And 25 was the magic number that she could, and it was great. It was a great way to do it. We have men and women working on all these projects, and so in order for somebody, number one, not to feel like a knucklehead, to say, could you carry this box for me? We just engineered it so everybody could do every task. So, well, it's just kind of, it just makes the workplace, to work for me, you have to have the aptitude and the attitude. If you don't have any aptitude for this type of work, then forget it. But if you have good aptitude and you're a jerk, it's just not going to work. So So the people that work for me, I tend to assemble these amazing crews. And every once in a while, I make a mistake. Henceforth, to work for me, you have to go through my wife now. She's the final arbiter.